A lot of these men developed their opinions about Black American women not while they were dating them, but because of their mothers,
Whew.
because of their sisters, and because of the women that were raised around them. So they know you better than you know yourself. The worst thing that happened to Black American women was that the fathers were pushed out, because the
Yeah.
fathers were there to be able to shield their children from seeing the raw, uncut nature of those mothers. Those fathers held those women in check. Those women left
Yeah.
alone are like they're like tornadoes in the household, and that's why we have women who raise boys. A lot of them end up self-deleting. They have the highest incarceration rate, drug use, dropout, teen pregnancy, and all these other things. So these men are not going to be convinced because some woman comes smiles in their face. The minute she exhibits any behavior that reminds them of the women that they were raised by, they're out.
They're
Listen to my
out.
page. 52% of Black men are unmarried and over 40% don't have children. These are the latest statistics. So they're
Mm.
out. They're not going to church. They're not going to college. You can't catch them at the club. They don't want to meet up at singles bars. They're out. This is what you're dealing with. Now you got passport bros saying, "Hey, I don't have to be a hermit. I can get a woman from over here." That's what you're facing. How do you get around that? How do you undo all the damage that that boy has seen from his mother? All the men that she had coming in and out the house, having to call every other dude she dated stepdaddy, and he's picking this child up at the school. The school don't know who this boy's real daddy is because 6 dudes have been there to pick him up and he's in the 4th grade. That boy grew up. Those boys are now men. They know the nature of women, even whether you call it the manosphere or the red pill community. These men understand female nature, and they understand Black female nature better than any other group of men that have been around, because they were raised by Black women. They know them too well. And you trying to, not you particularly, but these women trying to smile and fake, they've seen that before. So
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
So after my interview with Dennis Sperling, honestly, I had a lot of mixed feelings. I was glad I was able to listen to him and the different men that he represents. And part of me was quite sad. It's quite disturbing to hear the amount of men, the amount of Black men in particular, who have had quite horrible, damaging, traumatizing experiences with their mothers and sisters. And also there was the other side of me that's like, man, it can be unfair for Black women who do have their act together to be judged and be perceived based upon the failures of these other Black women, to be assumed to be guilty, or to be assumed to be bad, or to be assumed to be a thought because you're Black, because the mothers and the sisters of those other Black men were that. And so now you're judged through that lens. So I have those feelings too. But here's the challenge: is for those of you Black women out there who say, look, I don't identify with that. Like, I'm not over there twerking out in the restaurant. I'm not over there thoughting it up. I'm not over there calling my son all kinds of N-words. Like, if that's not you, the problem becomes that it doesn't seem like there's enough of those women speaking out. And it doesn't seem as if there's enough of those women making their presence known. Because if all the men have is their experience, and then they go out into the world and they see the same ratchet behavior, and there doesn't seem to be a collective pushback, then what are these men to do? What are they to think? What do they believe? And so this has been one of the hardest things for me to reckon with. I certainly don't believe that every single Black American woman is what Dennis Sperling described in this video. And yet, and still, because we see this kind of behavior happen and we don't see a collective pushback, we don't see the kind of canceling that Black women do when they don't like a Black man, or the kind of canceling that we do see if a Black man is seen to be colorist, or if he's seen to have a preference. We don't see that when it comes to Black women being out of pocket. Then these men are left to assume that the majority of Black women are indeed like this. And if this doesn't resonate with you, if you don't like that, if you're not about that, then you perhaps have a responsibility to start to speak up and to be different and to live differently. But if not, then You are going to continue to have a collective of men who have made the decisions, who say, look, I want nothing to do with Black American women. Some of them say, I want nothing to do with Black women, period, because of their own trauma, because of their own negative experiences, or whatever it may be. And that's their prerogative. You know what I mean? You can't convince those men otherwise. But if nothing else, I just want this to be an opportunity for you ladies to think and consider, you know, are you that woman that was described in this video? Are you that toxic representation that some of these men are trying to run from? And is there opportunity for you to do better? So just think about it. And if you are that woman out there who can be found twerking on the street, or you are caught up in thought culture and you don't want to do that anymore, then you can learn and change and do better. It is totally and completely possible. Now, first you have to want to change, and you have to really be willing to want to put in the work, but it is possible. I would first start off by, admitting, of course, getting around really, really strong influences. I would highly recommend getting around really strong Bible-based spiritual women, maybe different mentors, maybe different elders, maybe different pastors' wives, just someone who can help walk alongside you and start to school you practically on what it means to be a feminine woman, to start to give you some healthy scriptures, to start to give you some healthy teachings on what it means to be a feminine woman. I would highly recommend that. You can change. You really, truly, truly can change if you want to. But, as I mentioned before, there are men out there who are simply, their decision, their mind is made up, and that's fine. They have the right to do so. But if you as a woman, if you're not happy with his results, and if you're not happy with the way that you're being perceived, then you do have a responsibility to try to do something different. And for those of you out there who are so quick to say, what about the men? What about the men? This isn't about the men. They have their own stuff to focus on, but we also have our own stuff that we can focus on. So what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know what you think. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.